control. Politicians and celebrities make deals behind closed doors, promises broken, and their income soars. Hidden agendas run the grand parade, in the circus choose a masquerade. Believe me, I wouldn't lie. I've been given money, power, and fame to keep you in line.
Welcome, everyone. Today's show, we are going to be talking about something that's probably happened to a lot of people, and they kind of wonder why, because it doesn't really make much sense when you think about it. But we'll be talking about the dark psychology of helping others and why many times your kindness can backfire. So let's say you go out of your way, you lend some money, you give some advice, you make a connection for somebody, you listen to them for hours, you pull someone out of a tough spot, right? And instead of gratitude, you get distance, coldness, resentment, or worse. They rewrite the entire story so you become the bad guy. This sounds very familiar to so many of us, and it's not just something you can easily dismiss as people are just ungrateful. There's actual real psychology behind why help can humiliate other people. It can create an imbalance, it can breed envy, and it can turn a friend into someone who quietly or very loudly wants to destroy you, the very person who helped them. Anyways, thank you guys all for being here, and thank you for, hair comments. I am trying, to do the curly hair thing. But anyways, all right. Today, we're going to also start with breaking down the 1982 study, The Threat to Self-Esteem Model, the equity theory, cognitive dissonance, malicious envy, and why the person you helped often ends up remembering you not as the rescuer, but as the witness. What is that? Why is it something you don't want to be? We'll cover warning signs that they're about to turn on you, why they repay too fast and then vanish, and most importantly, how to actually help people without becoming the villain in their story. So let's get into it. Okay. The 1982, here, I got like a little something. All right, let's start off with the 1982 threat to self-esteem model. So researchers, I don't really know how to say their names, whatever, Fisher, Nadler, Wichter, published a landmark paper on recipient reactions to aid. One of the core frameworks that came out of this and that was expanded later in work by Nadler by themselves and others is the threat to self-esteem model. All right, so this idea is simple, but it can be like brutal when you understand it. It's like receiving help isn't always experienced as kindness to the other person. It can be experienced as a threat to their self-worth because help often carries the implicit message, you can't handle this on your own. When that message lands in an area that matters to someone's identity, their competence, their intelligence, their strength, their independence, it bruises their pride. So think about it. You help a friend update their resume and they get the job. Instead of thank you so much, you hear, yeah, but I was already planning to rewrite it that way anyways. Or your advice was okay, but I did most of the work myself. Or I had other connections too that helped me get the position. Anything to like minimize. That is pride trying to protect them. They're correcting the record so they don't have to sit with the uncomfortable truth that someone else played a meaningful role in their success. So this model shows that when help feels threatening, especially from someone in a similar status in a domain that's self-defining, people react with negative affect, reduce self-esteem, and hostility towards the helper. Help that should bond people can instead create humiliation. So a personal example of something like this that happened was with my high school boyfriend. He was having a hard time writing a paper. He's not very good at writing. Can't do it very well. I'm actually very good at writing, no problems with it. I can knock out like a 10-page paper in under 30 minutes, get an A+, never think about it again. Now, I'm not that great in math and other areas, but writing is something I could do pretty quickly. No problem. So he had to write a story. So he had to be creative, make the characters compelling. And this was way above his pay grade. This was not something he was good at. He was good at other things, musical stuff, whatever. But this wasn't what he was good at. So I'm like, I will help you. This was also something he really wanted to be seen, to be perceived as good at, because he really valued people who could write. That was one of his core. He wanted to be seen as someone who's creative and can write and could become like a famous writer, like that was like the vision, the whatever. So he can't do it. When pen to paper, he could not do it. So what I did was I said, give me some ideas and I'll make it into a story. So he would give me meaningless things like the name of the character, maybe their job, whatever. And then I would write a story around it. And I made this huge paper for him. He turned it in. He became the best in the class with the papers that I wrote. But when he would tell other people about it, he would say nothing about me. It was always, I did this. I'm such an amazing writer. He didn't even write. He didn't even write or type it out. It was just, like very meaningless parts of the story. I let him do like the people's name, maybe what they did for a living, maybe the location. I usually gave 3 things. Do you want the setting to be in a bar, in a club, or, like whatever? Like I would give options, but ultimately I'm the one who wrote it, but he could never admit that. And then he started to resent me when I said, oh, do you want me to help you with that? Or do you want me to write the story with you or whatever? It became a lot of resentment because I didn't know this at the time. I was young and naive, but that was a big part of his identity. Yes, you guys, trauma dumping again. You guys are so ridiculous. I've done the same thing for female friends with the same results. So it's not just guys who feel like this. Please do not think this is something that I'm attacking guys. Everybody has potential to do this. All right. So, moving on. Signs their pride was bruised plus cognitive dissonance. So, how do you know you've bruised somebody's pride when you tried to help them? Watch for these classic moves. They immediately downplay or reframe what you did to help them. They will correct the record. They will, let's see. Okay. They will correct the record in conversations with mutual friends. Oh, they didn't help me that much. I actually wrote it, or I actually did all this, blah, blah, blah. They will insist that they were going to do it that way anyways. They will get defensive or irritated when your help is mentioned later. Like one time I'm listening to him or like another girlfriend or whatever that I helped, because I used to write a lot of people's papers. I don't know. It's just like that was just what I would do because it was so easy for me. So I'm like, I can help with this. But I didn't think it was like I'm trying to be better than anyone, because I always thought like I can't do math. So if I'm out with someone, I expect you to do the math. You're calculating the check. You're doing all that because I don't even want to look at a number. But, people don't always see that. They just kind of think you're like stepping on their toes. Anyways, so this can fuel cognitive dissonance in the other person. It's an uncomfortable mental tension between 2 beliefs clashing. Belief 1 could be, I'm a competent and self-reliant person. I don't need nobody, right? Belief 2 could be, I need significant help from this person to succeed or fix this problem, right? So, to reduce this dissonance, the mind, and this is a human condition, will create mental gymnastics instead of updating belief one with, you know, they will attack the helper and rewrite the story. I didn't really need that much help. Their help actually made things worse, or even worse, they only help me so they can feel superior over me. All right. An example will be you lend a friend money in a crisis. A month later, they're posting about how they got through it on their own grit. We've seen this, right? We've seen this a lot. All right. The dissonance is resolved by erasing your role in their help. Another example, you give career advice that works. They later tell people, I took some of what they said, but mostly figured it out myself, right? The help becomes a threat that must be neutralized. Another thing that I noticed, like, thank God I noticed this stuff before I started helping some people in business, because I was able to, because I knew all this, help people with their business without them thinking I was trying to one up them or trying to make them feel like they couldn't do it on their own. So how I would do that is try to guide people to make the decisions that I think that would be beneficial, but make it seem like it's coming from them, right? So that can look like you watch specific podcasts on business when you know like there's something that they need to know, but you don't want to be the one to tell them. So you let some expert that they'll like accept advice from, like this person's a billionaire. So obviously I'm going to accept advice from them. They're not on the same level. They're not even similar in any way. So it's easier to take advice from someone who's way up high than someone who they think is like in their social circle and their friend group or too even keel with them. Or even below them, God forbid, if they think you're below you're below them, and then you try to give them advice. That's not going to work. So if there's a podcast that I find with that advice, I will listen to it in front of them, in the car with them, in like a party with them, or I'll throw it on. And then that specific part that I really want them to put in their mind, I will make the sound really loud. Right. And then I'll kind of turn it down right after, like, oops, I pressed the volume up by mistake type of thing. And then they really get to listen to that because it's blaring at them. Then later on, they will internalize that advice and then come back out and I came up with this myself. And then you'll be like, wow, you're so smart. And that will help the situation because you do not want to give direct advice to people who are too close to your level. Unfortunately, we need to do these silly things with people. Anyways, okay, so the equity theory, let's see. So we already talked about that. Okay, the equity theory by J. Stacy Adams. So this was done in the 1960s. It says, baby, people just do not want help. They want fairness in their relationships. So we constantly, often unconsciously, compare our input, which is our efforts, vulnerability, resources that we give, and our output, which is what we receive, our status and gratitude, against other people's. So when someone receives a lot of help, they become over benefited. And according to this theory, over benefited people don't primarily feel the feeling of gratitude. They feel guilt. They feel discomfort. And that guilt is very motivating, but not always in a way that we expect. One common way to restore equity fast is repay the debt immediately. So sometimes you'll notice someone who wants to repay a debt overly quickly, and then they create a distance between you guys. So they want to wipe the slate completely clean as fast as possible so they no longer feel indebted. Once the debt is gone, many people will simply vanish or cool off dramatically with their relationship with you. Why? Because the ongoing imbalance feels threatening to their own self-image. They'd rather reset the relationship to neutral or even turn it into something hostile than live with the feeling of feeling one down, right? So healthy gratitude will look totally different than this. It will feel warm, reciprocal over time, and it doesn't require immediate repayment to feel okay, right? The person can sit with appreciation without it eating them up inside. So, let's keep on. So this is the over benefit, guilt, not gratitude. All right. When they start comparing themselves to you, here's where it gets even darker. When you help someone significantly, you can become the standard that they measure themselves against. You become their mirror. And some people hate when they see the mirror, and you'll start hearing comments from them like, must be nice, right? Or easy for you to say, or very subtle or not so subtle, one upping whenever you share something good that happened to you or for you. This is often going to be malicious envy. It's not just wanting what you have, but wanting you not to have it. This I have experienced so freaking much in my life. It is one of the biggest overarching themes. Okay. So, envy will fester because the only way for them to feel better about themselves is to diminish or destroy the standard, which is now you. So, signs their envy has turned malicious. They go quiet or change the subject when something good happens to you. They will minimize your wins. Yeah, but, whatever. Damning with faint praise. So damning with faint praise is when someone with envy responds to your good news with a compliment with a knife. So compliment with a knife. Let's say you go, I'm getting married. They'll say something like, wow, good for you. But I could never trust getting married in such a high divorce rate climate. Or you say, I got a promotion. And they say, oh, that's great news. But I like having a life and free time. So it's like a compliment with a knife. Okay. So listen for those things with people. They will bring up their own achievements right after you, but in a competitive way. Okay. Quick side note. On one-upping versus relating, because people get confused with this one. So if someone is on like the spectrum or they're a little neurodivergent and you say something that happened to you, good or bad or whatever, and they want to share a similar experience that happened to them, this is often them trying to connect and show, I get it. It's a relational one, right? It's not competitive. An envy-driven one is one-upping. It feels different. It is dismissive, it is competitive, and it is designed to put you in your place. So look for tone, timing, and whether it builds connection or it tears you down. And this one will tell you which one it is, one-upping or relating, right? So with all of these things, there's nothing like hard and true and fast. There's always a little bit of nuance, especially when you're dealing with someone who's on the spectrum. So you have to kind of like look out for that. Or, if someone has like a healthy banter with you and you have that relationship, but they love you and have been there in your darkest times and you've been in there in their darkest times, and you have that like maybe like a brother sister type of banter with each other, but like they're ride or die, then you could kind of like see this and it might come off like that, but it's not really like that. So that's why discernment is important. And how it makes you feel. Like you'll feel it in your gut when it's someone who doesn't like you, right? You'll feel it when it's envy. So like listen and feel for that difference. Okay. From resentment to retribution, right? This is when they start recasting you as the villain, right? When resentment builds, many people move into what I'm calling the retribution phase. This is a psychological process of restoring psychological equity to their narrative. They recast you as the villain. Your help wasn't generous, it was controlling, it was malicious. You didn't deserve the position you're in, right? It's because you're hot. It's because you knew the right people. It's because your parents are so and so. It's because of whatever, right? You don't deserve it. Anything you have or achieved must be illegitimate because otherwise the imbalance would mean something painful about them. They don't want to see that. All right. All right, moving on. This lets them want to ease the debt in their mind. A victim owes nothing. So they start manufacturing grievances. Okay. So manufacturing grievances can look like them wanting to erase the debt. They're going to say things like, let's see, you've changed, but often right after you've helped them and they no longer need your help. You've changed. So this is when somebody, let's say they win the lottery, they become famous or whatever, something takes off, and then now this person has resources to help you or to help the other person. So let's just say, like, imagine you're Joe Rogan. First, you're just like a poor comic, and then eventually you're Joe Rogan and now you're the number one podcaster. So you're like, your friend is struggling. Maybe they have addiction. Maybe they have problems booking gigs. So you're like, you know what? I'm going to keep inviting you onto my show. And then after some time goes by, this person no longer needs Joe Rogan, in their mind at least, because they feel like they now have a steady income. They're now a big shot. They have their own podcast. They are finally able to go on tour and make a lot of money. So now they start bad talking Joe Rogan or downplaying them, right? Or saying things like him, like, you've changed. Suddenly, bizarre complaints that come out of nowhere. So it's just like they'll start attacking him like, oh, he's not conservative or liberal enough or whatever it is. Or they'll attack his relation, or they'll say he's a phony or some other garbage insult, right? They will also rewrite past events to make them look bad. He invited me on his show, but then he didn't let me speak about what I wanted to, or he controlled the conversation too much, or he's a narcissist, like something like that to like downplay and rewrite the past events. Okay. They're doing this because they are hunting for an exit from gratitude. Because as long as they feel they owe Joe Rogan, they will feel lesser. Becoming a victim or someone who is wronged by this party is the perfect psychological loophole. So they don't have to feel any gratitude for him. All right. The witness effect. Why old friends turn cold. This is the deepest and most painful part. When you help someone through something really vulnerable, financial ruin, an emotional breakdown, a drug addiction, failure in other parts of their lives, right? You see them with their mask off, because there's a lot of people who wear masks in this world. There's authentic people too. They never have a mask. And those are the people you can help at any point, and they will never take it personally and never like turn it against you, right? Those people they also get, taken advantage of and whatever when they don't have a mask on. There are reasons you should wear a mask with strangers or people who are malicious. I get that. But for the most part, there's authentic people and people who are inauthentic and have to wear a mask to protect themselves, right? So this is the deepest and most painful part. When you help someone, they feel real vulnerability. You become a witness to their weakness, to their shame, to their lowest point. Once they recover, or even sometimes while they are recovering, many people don't primarily remember you as the person who saved them. They remember you as the person who saw them. You hold that information about them that they worked very hard to hide from the rest of the world. Their greatest fear is that you might speak of it, even accidentally, even kindly. So the solution to their mind becomes destroy or distance yourself from the witness. This is why old friends sometimes turn ice cold years later. So I do not know how to say this dude's name, but I wrote it down here. Okay, so this dude, he said, basically, even hate those who have obliged them. So basically, it's hard to forgive those who have helped us, is what it translates to in like common speak, right? So you didn't just help them, you saw behind the curtain, behind the mask. And some people will never forgive you for that, unfortunately. So, how to help people who won't turn on you. So, let's say you actually want to help people without creating all these landmines. Rule number one is the hardest one for so many of us who are very helpful people, right? Never help someone who didn't ask for it. Okay. Unsolicited help is one of the fastest ways to bruise pride and create resentment, even if they love you and even if they are very good people. So, even if they're struggling, let them vent first. The magical question you can ask that, and I started doing this and I found out, it's crazy. Do you want me to listen right now? Are you just venting, or would you like advice and help? You would be shocked. And I was so shocked about how many people would just say, honestly, I just need to vent. I don't want to hear it. And it's just like, I had no idea that there's people who didn't want solutions or help. I thought, like, if you're complaining, you probably want me to help you, but absolutely not. And this is not true. Okay. If I had jumped to solutions, though, it would have started a fight, planted seeds of resentment. And some people will go, this is just a woman thing. Women don't like it when men offer solutions. They just want to complain. No, absolutely not. They have found that both men and women do this equally. It's just women, especially if you're in a relationship with them, they will expect you to know this. So they will be like immediately pissed off, immediately, but it's more transparent. Like if they're pissed off immediately, you were not supposed to do that. But with men, it can men or women and women when they do it together, or men and men, that's when you can get like the envy and resentment more. So you have to be careful. So it's same gender, this can come out more, the envy. You just might start a fight with like someone who you're dating. All right. But it's not going to be envy. Okay. So this can, for those, they can jump to more covert and malicious envy later. So just be careful with everyone. It doesn't matter who it is or what relationship you have with them. Ask them if they want you to help them, right? Help is safest when it protects the person's dignity. It is dangerous when it highlights incompetence or creates obvious dependency in ego-relevant areas, okay? So examples of safer help would be teaching somebody a skill that they can do themselves. Let's go fishing. I'll show you how to fish. Now they can do it themselves, right? It's not like an ego thing. Connecting them to resources or people without doing any work for them. Oh, I know so-and-so. I'll give you their email, right? And then they're off to the races. They do it themselves. Offering opinions or options and letting them choose. Here are some things that work for me. If you think any of them resonates, you can try them yourself. I don't know what'll work, what won't, You're not like telling them what to do. You're giving them some options that work for you. And you're saying you don't know. Take it or leave it. Helping in low identity areas. Things like moving boxes, helping them pack, helping them fix stuff, whatever, something's broke, like things that don't really have to do with their ego, their identity. They just need some help doing this. Can you get this? Let me help you with that. Let me help you get your bag. Let me help you bring your groceries. Like helping, like that type of helping. This is not going to affect anybody's ego. Unless, of course, there's some exceptions. Like if the person prides themselves on how strong they are and they broke an arm and now like they're feeling self-conscious about that, that would be a very specific situation where trying to help them move something when they're trying to do it themselves and not wanting help would piss them off. But generally, you're safe. Examples of riskier help: anything that destroys their self-esteem or their sense of self. Okay. Doing something major for them in an area they pride themselves on. They're a musician and you write a song for them, or you write their next song, or you do something that basically is what they are known for, right? Repeatedly rescuing them from the consequences that they need to face. So parents can do this, right? Like, let me make this for you. Let me help you with this. Let me do this for you. You don't want to do too much of that because people can't resentful. And it is kind of like babying them, and it stops them from achieving on their own, feeling confident. You're basically sucking the chances that they have to feel success on their own. Giving advice in domains tied to their self-worth without being asked again. You do not want to do that. Or anytime you feel like you can publicly highlight how much you help someone, you are going to trigger this. Do not help someone if you want the world to know. It is the purest, easiest sign that it's not going to go well for you. People will turn on you. So anyone who's like donated to charity and posts about it or talks about it and encourages other people to do the same because they're so wonderful, they're going to create a lot of envy and resentment with everybody who sees that because it's a bad character trait. Do not publicize anytime you've helped anybody ever. And it's very hard, especially like if you've helped them and you feel like they're taking all the credit for it. Do not help someone if you would get mad if they take the credit for it. In fact, I would say if you help them and they take all the credit for it, now as a more mature person, I would be like, yeah, they did it all by themselves. I'm like so lucky to have such a smart, intelligent friend, because now you've empowered them. You said, I'm not going to out you to the world. I'm going to, I'm on your side. I empower you. You did it by yourself. You were so smart. Give them all that back. And, it's hard, especially if you do a lot of help. It takes a lot of time. But that is your ego who needs to be told they did a good job or they're a good person. Either you're a good person or you want to be seen as a good person. You can't be both, right? So additional red flags and green flags for who to help. Green flags would be ask directly. They express appreciation without any over-the-top repayments. They maintain the relationship roughly equal over time. They can celebrate your wins. They have a track record of healthy reciprocity with others. They seem to have a decent self-esteem that is not overly fragile. Red flags would be history of turning on people who help them, a high need to appear self-sufficient at all costs. So strong victim or I do everything alone identity. These people do not help them. If they say they can do it alone, they will resent you for helping, for not helping, for anything. Probably stay away from them altogether. If they're like, I could do it myself, I don't need you, probably pour yourself in somewhere else. Immediate repayment and disappearance pattern. They've done it with other people. They're probably going to do it to you. Competitive or envious reactions to success of you or others. They've done it to others. They'll do it to you. Fragile ego that cannot tolerate any implication of need. So anybody who's fragile, do not help them. They will turn on you. It is very sad because there's some people who are fragile, but you love them. They're going through it. You want to help them. Just know they will turn on you. There's nothing you could lose them. So at least if they have a fragile ego and you love them and you enjoy their company, if you don't help them, you can keep them in your life and still enjoy their company. And if they're fun or you do things together, whatever. But do not try to help those people, unfortunately. The healthiest relationships, of course, feel like a very mutual empowerment, not one person carrying the other indefinitely. So, final takeaways, right? Helping others is the best and most human thing that we can do for each other. But when it threatens somebody's self-esteem, it creates unresolved inequality or turns you into a witness to their vulnerability, it can backfire spectacularly. The people who handle help well are usually the ones who already have enough internal security that receiving support will not shatter their identity. So protect your energy and only help when asked. Ask listening versus advice questions. Do you want me to listen to you vent, or do you want advice and help? Ask that. Just do it. Focus on empowering them to figure it out themselves versus rescuing them and just doing it themselves. I know it's easy to just want to, like, especially if it's something easy for you to do, like I can just fix this problem. Don't do resist, and let them figure it out. Help them figure it out themselves so that they can take credit for it. If they cannot take credit for it, you've done too much and you're doing something wrong. All right. Let's see. Pay attention to how they respond. Their reaction will tell you everything about whether this relationship can survive your kindness. Unfortunately, sometimes by being kind, we realize people are not really about us like that, and you got to let them go or got to keep your distance. So, anyways, if this resonated with you or if you found this helpful at all, drop a comment with maybe some of your own stories, examples of times you were nice to people and it backfired. I know I have a lot of them. I have a lot of stories like that. If you have anything good, I will read it in the next one. And like, subscribe, join the Discord. It is the top comment I made on today's live stream. And always be wise when you're helping people. Let me think of, like, does anybody have any examples right now that they want to share? Like, if you do, like, write it in the comments. Trying to think of another one that I have, because I don't want it to just be like the one about an ex-boyfriend, because you guys get pissed off about that. Kat's complaining about her exes again. No. Let's see. There was one time I helped a girl get a job, and what did she do? Oh, she tried to get me fired afterwards. I don't know if I don't know if that really, let me try to think. Yes. But anyways, yeah, I'm glad you guys liked my dream last night, last Saturday. It was an actual dream. Like, I didn't even make that up. Anyways, so I will see you guys next time, because I can't think of anything right now. Any other examples? I probably should have thought of some before. Like, subscribe, share, and I will see you guys next time. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I'm going to try to come up with other streams for this week, and I'll see you guys all later. Have a lovely rest of your evening. Bye, guys.